Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. I'm going to give you an update on progress in the HAX editor and HAXcms. It's been a while. Been doing a lot of caffeine doping, and so let's see what's come out the other side so far. So this is in the latest release. This is 070. So I'm going to log in. It's admin. It's my username and password on this local site. Immediately you'll should notice a difference. One, much better at keeping this consistently logged in and logged out here. There's no getting lost in being in a quasi-logged out state, so it's a much better login process. And then there's also this board. So this board is all the sites that I have. You can see it's got some listing overviews. I've been doing some stress testing. So you can see there's 740 pages in that site. Got this Everly ODL one I want to show a little bit later. Just some, overall heads up types of information. I can, search over here, autocomplete the word hacks, blog, see what things are using something with blog in the title. I could take, let's see, so GovSummit, not using that, that was for an example. I can select that, and when I select a site, you'll see I get these different operations that I can do. So I can now do these bulk operations. And what happens if I was to archive the site? So let's pull up the listing here. So I've got my sites here. So this is effectively just reading off this data, presenting it here. Let's take GovSummit and we can archive it. It'll say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? I say yes. You can see it's reflected instantly. And what it did is it took that folder and it moved it over to archived. So if I were to move it back into sites, I get my site back. There we go. What I could also do is I could say the Elm site and this Apereo webinar and sure, yeah. Let's clone both of those. So I hit clone. And what clone is going to do is it's going to duplicate both of those. So you see I get this site copied on the file system as Apereo HAXcms webinar -1. The fun thing about these is, because they're so self-contained now, the only thing it has to do in the actual site for this to be possible is it just updates this site name value. So this is the only thing that's kind of pegging it to where it is in here. And it's just because we have this data model that spans across these site.jsons. So, okay, so whoop-de-doo. Got this overview, all those buttons work, which is nice. Let's call up a site that we don't care about. Let's do this PY4E. You may notice everything kind of pop, progressively loads in. That's because this site, or these systems now, reflect a complete overhaul of every element in our library. In going through, I was able to count and found out that we don't have 136, as I previously have said, as our large number. It's actually 433 elements, and now, as of yesterday, it's probably more like 436 across our entire portfolio in that mono repo. So we've got a pretty massive portfolio being produced and managed by the 4 developers that are primarily tasked with working on these web components. And so I went through and I reapplied a new methodology to all of them, which basically causes every element to load faster. Don't need to get in the weeds on that, but all of the performance of every site in HAXcms will now be faster, whether it's served up by a CDN or just a stock site. So, nothing new here. I can click and I can go to pages. Something new here though, edit. Let's delete this image and hit save. You see it just went away and there's no duplicate content. That was a bug pointed out in the community. So now this is updating, saving the back end as we would expect. It's then presenting and keeping state better on the front end. I still have these options in here you can do things with. So there, just tweak that to be yellow as my accent color used across some of these themes. We have sitemap shown before. We've also got search now. So there's a search index that's built on the fly. And so there we go, we have Google, and so I know that I can go to the login page, or that the word login is, or sorry, the word Google is also included on this page. If I typed started, let's see, getting started, book, instructor. So this is an element that we have available to us as theme developers in HAXcms. So adding search is pretty darn trivial. It's kind of cool. Outline functions as one would expect. Hit save, and I just added a whole ton of content. Again, we'll see performance gains on this side as well, because of the nature of all the refactoring that's been going on. So this would be under here. There we go. So there's our lesson 3, and these are our replicant pages that are all lesson 3 as well. So let's bounce to a different design, shall we? Pop this up, theme. Let's go with Coder Blog. There we go. So this is Coder Blog. Let me do a refresh of the page. There we go. So this is Coder Blog. So we can see, again, much better state management in bouncing between these things. Some little things rough around the edges, obviously, but this is like a Hacker Noon or Medium type of a clone. So you can see I have links off to my RSS feeds. HAXcms is generating these automatically. I don't have to think about them. Same with Atom. And I can bounce over to this posting. There's also been a lot of improvements to the Hax editor itself, as far as timing, data binding, lots of stuff that's in the weeds, to be perfectly honest, but that gives a net result of just a faster UX, just easier to work with, and also is going to do things much more as one would expect. Just so you know, that's there. It's timed correctly. It's in the DOM. Call this back up. So just even these transitions between these states are more accurately done and faster, as well as duplication. Duplication is now 100% accurate. Saving is now 100% accurate. As far as the data that you're plugging into the DOM here is going to be reflected and recalled with higher accuracy than previously. So all good things for what one would expect from a content management system, to be perfectly honest. Let's check out a different theme here. Bounce over from Hacker Slevin, as this is called. We can go back to Simple Blog. There we go. So this is one of the first themes. This is another medium style clone, if you will, of a different design. Again, reloading, you see some little like fractally, building as the page paints. It also has a lot better support across browsers now. So you open up Firefox, another window here. There we go. So this is our site in Firefox. We serve ES6 to everybody now. And Firefox gets a slightly different build. Oh, you see it actually goofed there as far as the way that looks at the bottom. Oh, there we go. Something else to fix. So this is our site, but it's in, there's that page I was looking for. This site, but it's in Firefox, and so because I'm in a different browser, different browsing window, I don't have a login token. And when I don't have a login token, I don't get the editing experience. So again, just a lot of cleanup in consistency. Even just moving between these, it should appear to be a little cleaner than it was. That's just because of some of the design work that's been cleaned up. So there's that site in this methodology, which looks a lot more like the hackstheweb.org website. I can open these up and edit just the title directly. Recall, edit it again. Let's edit the location to be some nonsense. And so getting a lot more accurate in these regards, a lot faster. You can see, just the timing between these things is pretty night and day with where the system used to be. So you can see, like, I'm hammering through this. We've also got much higher page speed scores on Lighthouse testing. And I will say probably the most important feature, I can show you through a really high quality example, is now there are workflows built in to do custom theme development out of the box. So I'm going to go to the ODL site. We've leaked some screenshots here and there as far as what's going on with this site. But this is probably the one that's going to kind of change opinions as to what it is this little tool does. So this is a HAXcms site. It's a theme that's being worked on for the Office of Digital Learning in Everly College of Science. So I'm not working on this. I'm just kind of, they're helping provide use cases basically for the same underlying technology that we'll use for our course development. So it's fantastic. To get this file to me, or get this site to me, for starters, because the whole system is just kind of copy and paste. Their developers, Chuck Lavera is working primarily on this. He just posted the code to a repo. I downloaded the zip, unzipped it, and it loads in here. Now, as far as the custom theme workflow, because that's real important to see what that kind of looks like. The theme itself lives in a custom folder. And then this, again, gets in the weeds for those that are on the development side of this, but you can actually just start doing front-end web development using practices one would expect. And as long as you read our docs for how we do theme development, in this case, see he has this extends HAXcms theme, he's using mixins, then you can do custom theme work with this. It comes with built-in build routine. We've started to document some of that stuff. But you can see this is a pretty darn impressive looking site. They're working on lots of custom elements made specific to this. Not all the buttons are hooked up yet. I know team is. There we go. So there's team. You can see routes being kept in sync. Here's this page that I'm on, leveraging some of the items we've seen in other in some of the other themes of the past. So like this my post block is changing itself conditionally based on some different user data. You can also, again, see just the speed of these sites. These are different pages that we're going to fundamentally. So this isn't some cute one-page app as far as the way that it's perceived. So still a lot of work that they're doing on this, obviously. But I think it's a pretty darn impressive case of what happens when you keep things abstract enough that they can be repurposed. So for example, Chuck, who's driving a lot of the development on this site, Chuck made these little my post tags. If we inspect any of these, we can call this up and see that that's a site recent content block, which is a block that I made that does some querying. And so he just has some very basic CSS, or sorry, HTML with CSS applied that then just keeps stamping it over and over again. So you see that's the Hax theme profile. So I could actually start to borrow design and stylings from any aspect of any website that's ever made in this pretty easily. Scroll to top button is a button that we made for our courses. These little cards were made to present and represent courses here. Those can start showing up in course materials. Team page, even with this circle, this is something they borrowed from another site that had been done previously. So, there's just a wealth of potential in this approach, and doing it in the way like they're doing here, where you see, okay, there's a site query. Site query is a special tag in HAXcms that says, in this case, as he's working on the theme, hey, I'm going to pass data through to the page feature, but I want you to only give me things that claim to be news, and only give me one of them. So if I said 2 or 3, just editing the DOM, now I've got the last 3 posts. And it really is that simple. News feed in the same way. If we look at what Chuck's done for the news feed, we see there's recent news. We can step down here and see that he has a meta query type of news. So if I increase this to 6, we get the last 6 posts running across. Or sorry, that's limit. Limit is 6. Start index is 1. So we said limit 2. Start index is 4. So now they're not really the most recent posts anymore. But these are the kinds of awesome things you can do with the content, when it's all driven in this manner. So let's look at the video feed. Curious as to how that one's done. Appears the video feed is just kind of manually placed there. Page feature though, so this is type spotlight. So if I took his news with the page feature, and I just said this was news now, you can see I can, completely reform the way it's supposed to work. It's kind of cool when you just dig in and manipulate the DOM. There we go, limit 5. Or actually, it might not be 5. It probably only has one thing that's called spotlight. Yep, only has one thing called spotlight. So again, HAXcms, you can learn more about it at haxtheweb.org, which is also using the newest version of all of this. Or you can check out additional production running copies of this at btopro.com, where you can see I'm using the Hacker11 theme, or wcfactory.js.org is running this as well. And so you can see this is where you start to get the power of a distributed CDN that's keeping the build unbundled. So all three of these sites are leveraging the same CDN assets. So as we start to move this into the realm of courses, this is ultimately what this is being built for. And we do have some converted locally. I don't actually know if I have them listed in here. No, I was playing with a math course or chemistry course the other day, I can't remember which. But we're starting to make routines where we are able to import material that's in structured formats from elsewhere and pull it into these sites. And so then it starts to pick up all of the UX and flexibility that we end up getting with Hax, but not the UX barriers of before, right? So we can update these all as one big happy family. So next steps from here is going to be working on some drag and drop. As far as on that display there, it would be nice to be able to, you can do this, where you can drag and drop these items around between the different areas, but you see there is some goofiness there. So just, again, some consistency things, right? Like that shouldn't be there in that manner. Making sure that there aren't any rough around the edges types of aspects like that. Drag and drop, as I mentioned, so that we could do, like, take this image and move it up here type of a thing, which that's not what that just did, actually, right there. So some CSS styling types of things, and just increasing documentation. And so, yeah, this is latest update. You can go and snag this at your leisure to play with. It should work pretty well in MAMP, or if you're running through the DDEV routine. So if you have any questions, BTO Pro on the Twitterverse and just about anywhere else. Thanks for checking us out.